like you had, but yeah, they so like he's having the Falcons having this conversation with like these world leaders at the end who were saved after everything that happened and the terrorists end up dying, um he's talking about, he's like, hey man, like are you guys still going forward with this repatriation thing? They're like, yeah, they're not going to derail us. And he's like, no, you got to stop it. You got to think about things. You got to do things this way. And then there's like, wait, so we're supposed to just help everybody without any kind and without regard to any kind of resource? Like, yeah. And then there's like, and the guy, the senator was just like, oh, so like when people show up in if after 5 years and just see somebody living in their family home, like, what are we supposed to do then? And Falcon didn't have an answer for him. He was just like, and he's like, I understand how you feel, but things are more complicated than you think they are.
Uh-huh.
And then he goes on with
The line.
with the line, and
And that line is.
yeah,
Did you write it down?
I did,
Okay. Just go for it.
I might,
Breathe.
I don't, you know what? Let me. All right. So his response to that is, well, like, oh yeah, you're right. I don't understand how complicated this is, and it's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's what he said. So,
Yeah, and then he goes on to say that, you need to do better.
yeah, yeah. You
Which is
guys,
such a meaningless thing to say to somebody.
it's such a swiper no swiping thing to say. Like, it's just, well, like it's
There's a
just,
company that's doing poorly and might go out of business. Just go up to the CEO. You need to do better.
it's just, yeah, it's just crazy because
Do you have any
even-
helpful hints? No, you just need to do better.
Yeah, it's complicated. That's a good thing. Do better. What? What? It's just like
It's a good
it's
thing
just
that I have no idea about what's going on.
just the fucking opposite of what we should be doing. It's just like they missed the fucking goalpost. It's just it's so frustrating because it's like, all right,
Well,
like
you have to you need to figure out why that person was a terrorist and their
yeah.
mindset behind it. I'm like, no, you don't. Like,
Well, like it's wild because he says like, oh well, like
because he said it like a generalizing term.
yeah,
It's like, well, you probably, and I know what this is about. This is obviously about all of these social issues and everything like that.
yeah,
But you wouldn't make that reference to the January 6th Capitol riots.
right.
You wouldn't say, "Oh, you have
Right.
to understand these people."
Right, so it's like you're picking and choosing what you want to understand and not, and the fact that like race is such a
I don't
complex
need
thing.
I don't need to understand why somebody's burning down a Starbucks. I don't.
Yeah, it's,
Especially when the person is more likely to be the one that goes into that Starbucks.
you think, right? But like he
Like the January 6th rioters aren't the people that go into Starbucks.
like, it's just it's frustrating because like they pegged like even like take out like their characters, like pretend like these characters exist outside of the normal United States timeline. It's like they have no idea about race until they interact with other characters in this
Mhm.
world, and then they have like a semblance of what it is to what race means, racism in general. But and the African American experience, even with all that, it's like that's a complex issue, and they pegged it in a really weird out of context way.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to Disney Plus to get my fit of racial justice.
Oh, geez.
But the fact that they peg the racism, even with those like weird caveats, it's like they peg that one. But then when it comes to these geopolitical issues, it's just like, I don't know, and I don't know how complicated things are, and that's a good thing. And then he like justifies it by like, oh, think about
I
it.
know what
Like,
he's trying to say. Like, I'm able to have a more simplistic view on what the issues are, but it's still ridiculous.
yeah, like he says some good things. Like he says, like he points out, like that politicians are out of touch, and like we're all in a common struggle, and then like that sense of helplessness that you had. Like people have that sense of helplessness all the time. So like, oh, like that's what's good about it. It's good that we had this experience, and like we could simplify things in those metrics. So like you can see like how um, you can be more relatable, because politicians aren't like known to be the most down to earth people in the world. So it's like, all right, like that's a solid point when it comes to like politicians in general, and how to act. But that doesn't speak on, that doesn't explain away the the claim that he made about the not understanding the complexities of politics, because that is essential, because it could be that even if they get in touch with what's going on and understanding things, it's like there's still work to be done. So it's like you could be like, oh, I don't understand the intricacies of fighting, and that's a good thing. Think about it. I could jump in this ring, and I know how bad it is to be a normal Joe, like working 9 to 5. So I'm coming in here with the passion and urge to do great things. It's like, yeah, but you're also going against a trained fighter. He's gonna whoop that ass.
Yeah.
You go with all the passion and feeling in the world, but it's like, and you tell a politician, it's like, the problem with politics, you could say like, oh, like being out of touch and common struggle, but telling them like, hey, you're out of touch and now we're in a common struggle. That's not going to be like, oh, the big aha moment for them to do something.
Uh-huh.
The problem in politics is that they're beholden to they're like slaves to public opinion. And if public opinion understood the complexities of politics and were able to be like, okay, I'm going to hold you to these standards, I'm going to reward you for these good behaviors and demonize you, or discipline you, or take things away from you for these bad behaviors, then we'll be able to move forward. But it's like we pretend that like we vote these people into power, and pretend like they're kings, and how come you're not doing stuff for us? Like, no, they're beholden to how what we think, and then whatever other interests are out there. It's not that big business is bad or anything like that. They're just more organized. And
Yeah.
they have more clear understanding of what it is they want to accomplish, and they have the means to do it. But we have the same kind of power if we put all our money together, because all of our money together, that's what gives these big corporations all that money. So we could do the same thing, and we just have to be able to have the conversations to understand the intricacies of the complexities of politicking, and be able to call out good behavior, and call out bad behavior. But that doesn't happen, and that can't happen by just saying, hey, now we're all like, that feeling of helplessness, and yeah, you know how bad it is now. Like, you should do something about it. And he even alludes to like, oh, like you guys control the banks, you could change the borders, you could solve world hunger. And it's like the enemy had the power to wipe out half the planet, and like you have the same level of impact. So it's like, oh, how are you going to use your power? It's like, yeah, but like the complexities of it is like, even though like they don't have the power to solve hunger indefinitely. They have like a temporary relief. Like, okay, we could allocate this food over here, but then it's not a long term solution because it's not sustainable. So it's like, it's not. And then the economic is like, you don't have, they're not like economic dictators. They can influence economics and like have subsidies, and reward this kind of behavior versus that kind of behavior, but they can't like just flush out endless amounts of money without consequence. And that's why like the Fed's like so focused on trying to keep the inflation rate down as low as possible. And it's like the currency exchange is a lot more complicated than, oh, I want to help people, so I'm going to make this $2 instead of one.
I want to help people.
Yeah, right? Like, it's just such a simplistic way to look at it, everything. And it's like, but things are so much more complicated than that. It's like, it's not the same as it's like that he like there's accurate, like he was accurate, spot on when it comes to like, oh, the problem of like the them being removed from people. But when it comes to like instituting like a solution, like it was like super presumptuous. So
Yeah.
it was just like very, very swipe or no swiping ish. It's just like, oh, you gotta do better, swipe or no swiping, stop it. And that's no way to hold anybody accountable. Like, the world's not gonna react like Swiper and Dora, like, oh man, like, you're right, I shouldn't steal. Like, you have to have an actual consequence for the bad behavior. And on top of that, it's like the whole show was about people in like shitty situations who couldn't do anything about it. So it's like, there's nothing that indicates that they're making a bad decision. They're not trying the best that they possibly can.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, how can you say you have to do better? Maybe they're doing the best that they can politically. If you understood it, it's like they're making the best decision possible out of everything that's out there. So instead of analyzing like the results or someone being upset with the decision you're making, you have to analyze. You have to understand the complexities and be able to say, oh, this is good, or oh, this is bad, or like, oh, this could have been better. It's
Yeah.
like, but he's not able to do that because he doesn't understand the complexity, which he admits, and he's saying, is advocating, that it's a good thing. So it's just, it's so
It's preferred.
close. Yeah, it's so. It's so fucking close. It's just so close, and it just like it's like a swing and a miss. Like it
Oh,
was
well, it's
just,
Disney.
yeah, that too.
You shouldn't be
I can't-
expecting as much as you are.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. You know, I'm not gonna rag on them and like be that upset. Like I was impressed that they did what they did with race with it. So I mean, you know, even as much as I make fun of, you know, all the characters being out of touch with you know, historical facts, it's still like, you know, it's still impressive. But like I would like to see something akin to that when it comes to these geopolitical issues, or leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Because they like Disney also did all the other Avenger movies on like the extremist Nazi thing, the intelligence with like all the power in the world, and the whole like the philosophy differences between the different characters and what to do with all this power. Like those were really deep, and that was also made by Disney. Like that was incredible. So like the fact that they fell so flat when it came to this, and you know I think it's because most people have that issue.
Yeah.
You know, and especially in this climate. It's like people think that they're doing the right thing, you know, they advocate for it without really understanding it, and then you know we all suffer as a consequence. This is this guy who I work with, this old Filipino guy. He talked about when we lived in Hawaii. He was like a little kid, and he saw this politician was out like shaking hands and saying like, "Oh, I'm here for you guys," and vote me in. And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, he was cool. And he had like a cool little conversation. He took his time to talk to him and stuff like that. And then he won the election, and it was awesome. And he was like, he was super happy, and he didn't think he would ever see him again. But then he ended up running into him, and then he tried to talk to him. He was like, "Hey man," da, da, da. And the guy was like, just blew him off, like he didn't have time for him.
Uh-huh.
And he's just like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And he's just like, "I've never felt so used in my life." I mean, this is a nice old Filipino guy. So like he was like, "Yeah, so I was just confused." He's like, "I don't know." Terrible Filipino accent. But he was just like, I never.
I'm confused. I just wanted to talk to him, and he didn't want to talk to
Yes,
me.
exactly. Yeah, he was like, but he wanted to talk to me so much last time, and he's just like,
It's the tease.
yeah.
Do you want to talk to me, Chester?
Yeah. And he was just so dumb. He was trying to like say like he's like, oh, like they don't really care about you. They're just using you to get your vote, and then that's it. They got what they wanted out of you, and now they throw you away like you were like last night's fun time.
Fun time.
So it's just yeah. So I mean, they're beholden to political opinion. Like they treat you like that because that's what you give them. Like you put out, and then we don't hold them accountable, and we can't hold them accountable because we don't understand what's going on, or we don't pay attention to what's going on, and we just overly simplify. Are you racist or are you not racist? Oh, like are you no for big business or not big business?
Well, once you get elected,
Nationalist or
it's
not?
almost guaranteed that you're going to get reelected.
Mm. Yeah, it's hard. And that's why they're so big
It's
on
like incumbents have like an 87 or like 70 or 80% return rate or something like that.
Damn. Yeah, I believe it. And then especially because you have all those mechanisms working for you.
The donations, but then people know your name. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
you're
local
recognizable.
elections. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
like this guy's name, all right. Like,
Yeah. It's crazy. The majority of like I mean, in the senators, it's just senators are all these people that's like trying to run for president, and they only get 2 terms, 6 years each, a long time, pretty set. But they're not really dedicated to making any like big pivotal decisions for the most part. Speaking generically.
Yeah.
And then like with Congress, presidents, it's like the spotlight all the time. And then with the Congress, it's like they're running every 2 years, and for real, for like a congress, like it was like 6 month campaigning, then it turned to like a year, now it's more like a year and a half. So for real, like you get in for like 6 months, you might be doing some stuff, but then after that, you're like campaigning and advocating for money, half the time that you're in office. So it's like you're not really, you like this. They have like a handful of jobs where like they talk about shit and they vote on shit, and half the time some people won't show up to vote because they just are too busy doing other shit.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Well, like Obama had the worst attendance record of anybody in the Senate.
Mm.
He had the most days absent for voting.
That's intense. I didn't know that. Damn.
Because he started running for president.
Yeah, it's busy. Got other stuff to do. So it's like.
So literally, like, 70% of his time in office was spent campaigning.
And it's because like, if I put my name out there, if I say I'm for this and for that, it's gonna pull well. Like people are gonna be for me if I say this about gay marriage or this about weed. Yeah. And as long as I say these things, then I get my voice into.
Hillary Clinton was publicly against gay marriage until 2013.
Yeah, she changed her. What was it? Her views evolved.
Obama was, Biden was.
Yeah.
There's that speech that Biden gave. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Period. Obama gave a similar one as well.
Yeah. And they're beholden to, they think that's what people want to hear. And it's like, oh yeah, religious, and yeah, check this out. Instead of being a genuine person, like it's not.
Yeah, like 5 years later, they're all like champions of the gay community.
Yeah. It's like,
a couple years earlier, it was just this.
Yeah.
Evangelical Christian approach on gay marriage.
And it's not to say that people can't change their views, but
it's just clearly that they didn't.
Blatantly,
they don't care.
Yeah, you're just pandering.
They don't
to
have a
public opinion.
They don't have a moral view on it at all. It's just.
Yeah. So like we just have to hold them accountable to that shit. Like instead of like, hey, like you're full of shit. Like I really don't give a fuck about what your opinion on this shit is, because for real, you're not doing anything about it. So your position, like you just enforce the rules that are in place.
You're full of shit.
Yeah. I feel like you're busted the fuck. We have to stop caring about like what people identify and what they think about this, think about that. Just more so like, hey, can you do this job? Can you do this job well? Oh, you got a chance you didn't? All right, get out. Oh, you did this job and you did. Or this was a shitty situation. Shit was gonna hit the fan regardless, and you managed the fallout pretty well. All right, cool. With it. Or I think you could have managed that fallout a little better. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go for someone who thinks that they or who can. It's like it's still gonna be full. It's not like we're gonna political system's gonna be revolutionized in order to not lie or put on a pontificate type of show, But it's just you gotta hold them accountable for what they do, not what they say. You give less of a shit. After the words they say is lies anyway. Don't care about what you say. What do you do? What are your actions?
Oh. Who knows? I don't think that'll ever happen. That they'll be held accountable.
Yeah. Well, like first to be held accountable, you have to. I mean, this is why corporate interests is like everyone treats like big companies like they're the bad people, but it's like no, they're just like this option's gonna make me more money. You're gonna give me more tax subsidies. All right. Well, I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna push for that. This is a lot more organized. And not.
Andrew Cuomo was killing people, and then because he couldn't stop asking women to suck his cock. He then resigned, and they dropped all of the investigations against him.
Yeah, they got what they wanted, so then it was no longer. It's like no.
Dirty, filthy wop.
Jesus. Oh. Yeah, guy's an asshole. But in order to hold people accountable, it's like
guinea.
oh, what's a guinea?
Oh, it's an Italian slur.
Oh, oh. It's like what's that the guy from The Godfather
Sonny.
is this like, I haven't seen the movie, no, but there was this guy, I forgot, there was a reporter who got really upset because somebody called him
Fredo.
Fredo, yeah. He's like, it's like saying nigger to black people, like ooh.
That was hysterical.
It's a-
I'm gonna throw you down the stairs.
oh man, that was funny. But yeah, to hold people accountable, we just have to do the same thing that businesses are doing. Like we have to organize and be like, all right, this is what we want, and we'll just hold you accountable for it. And we'll vote for you is like, but then it's like, and we're gonna lobby for the things that we want. And then if we don't get what we want, it's like, all right. See how many votes you get next time. I have this block of people who are just willing to not vote for you next time, or to speak out against you and run campaigns against you. Like it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. At that point, if people are like made up their mind, like, hey, I wanted this stuff done, and we voted for you for these reasons, and you didn't do it. So I feel some kind of way about it. But now we're so, the blocks that we voted in are so ideologically locked in to what we believe that we're just incapable of expanding the block to people who disagree with us. And I think we have the capacity to do it. We just have to be willing to have conversations and listen. Like we don't have to agree, just listen. Oh, now I understand where you're coming from. Okay, I get that. Well, just like African Americans like have their experience in America. African immigrants have their experience after coming to America and abroad, and it's just like live very different lifestyles. But something that they could agree on is like, oh, well, we're resilient people, and it's like, okay, so regardless of what happens, we'll make it regardless. So boom, like that's something we could agree on. Or like, oh, well, despite like how I look at things and how you look at things, it's like, oh well, some people look at us in this kind of light because of if we're in this kind of environment. So we'll band together and teach our children to do X, Y, or Z. Boom. Like you're in a church and you're like pro-life versus people who are pro-choice. It's like, oh, like I understand. No, I don't like unwanted pregnancies. So, unwanted pregnancies lead to more baby killing. So, I'm gonna be for contraception. I'm gonna be more for safe sex practices.
Yeah.
Boom. So it's like that. That's a nice compromise. Like people who disagree fundamentally on a lot of things, like whether that's a baby or not, like whether being a victim or not. People who disagree on like big levels can come to concessions that everyone can get behind, but we just don't do that. But if we are able to get to that level, then things will get a little bit better.